tell us about the Brass Monkey Ice Bath, what it is and what you think of it.
Well, we love Betty. We've got one called Betty. They're very kindly sent us Betty a couple of months ago.
Yeah.
And we have a dip in her every day.
She's the biggest one in their range, so we can both fit in it. But they do a variety of sizes, from like repurposed oak whiskey barrels to these big commercial units, which is essentially what we have. I think the beautiful thing about Brass Monkey is it produces its own ice. So it produces ice on the side, and then it has this funky little algorithm going on where it defrosts slightly and the ice comes up to the top, and then you have icy water. We have an app that we set the timer on when we want to use her, so Betty's always ready whenever we want her. Yeah, and we pretty much do it about 6 times a week, I would say.
Yeah, and it is just, I mean, some days ridiculously hard, but if you do it, you just feel amazing, and it's just.
We've done a lot of cold therapy over the years, from cold showers to cryo to face icing. I think this probably feels like you get the deepest freeze out of it. The cold stays longer. I mean, I'm noticing things with like metabolism is changing slightly as I'm using it.
You get a higher kind of, so the endorphins, the dopamine, the norepinephrine, the release of that is the highest.
Yeah,
I think with the temperature at 0, it's the highest you can get, more than if you were using A-class drugs.
Yeah.
But it's just you can't describe it unless you do it.
I think then, like, you know, having come from a background in like building and architecture as well, it's where my geeky side comes in, and actually they're just really beautifully made.
Yeah.
And I know they're assembled in the UK, and lots of the components are made here. And
even Uncle Dave, Dan, who owns
Uncle Brass Monkey.
It's a whole family-run business. There's the 3 brothers and cousins, uncles, wives. Even the uncle delivered it to us all the way from
Tell
Yorkshire.
me about the there's this. Tell me a little bit more about the ice, because that sounded amazing when you guys were telling me about it before. It's sort of, you set it on your app, it starts chilling, and it creates sort of like corrugated sheets of ice. Is that right?
So think of it like an element on a kettle. It's like they're hidden in the panels of the bath, and it creates a chill. So it freezes, and then it comes up ever so slightly in temperature by like a degree, and it releases the ice. So it comes away from the sides, and it floats to the top in quite big panels, and you just break it up.
So they have a patent on that. The technology behind the defrosting.
Yeah.
So it's the only ice bath in the world that self-produces the ice and then releases it to float to the top.
Wow, that's great. Yeah.
And it's quite cool because it's like another sensory thing when you're in the bath. It's quite nice. You can hear the ice kind of clinking around, and it's lovely sensation to it. And I think that I find that quite cool. No, that's the wrong word, isn't it? But quite, I don't know. I just find that quite nice that you're kind of in there, and it helps you get into that headspace.
She's just really pretty as well, isn't she? I mean,
I thought you were thinking about me then.
You are. She is really pretty, isn't she? But Betty's also really pretty.
She's very aesthetic.
She is.
Like, you could have it indoors, outdoors, like very cool.
You can see her all across our Instagram because we've done a lot of dipping in Betty.
Yeah. Because I mean, I'm sort of interested, because I think people will be watching this and thinking, should I do this, and should I invest? And from my perspective, when I was doing ice baths every day, I found it almost, my nervous system didn't like it. That may just be me, but I almost found it was too much. And here, living in Portugal and getting in the sea suits me a lot better. It feels, I don't know how you guys do it, because it feels freezing when I get in, and it's still about 15 degrees here, and it's obviously a lot colder in your ice bath. But is there a case that for some people it's almost too cold, or should you then just maybe modulate it and do it every other day or a few times a week or something like that?
you don't have to have her set to 0 degrees. That's just
you can have it anything up to, I think, 10.
Which you will still get the benefits from 10 degrees.
Yeah, and how we're working with Brass Monkey is more exploring. Again, if you see on Instagram, there's lots of men jumping into ice baths. I did like 4.5 minutes at like 3 degrees. And actually that's not really what you should be doing with cold therapy. It should be actually, today I feel like I'm just going to go to the point where I feel I want to get out now.
Yeah.
And that's fine. And some days it might be 30 seconds, some days it might be 3.5 minutes, and some days it might be at 1 degree, another day it might be at 7 degrees. And to go more intuitively with how you feel to actually get that, it's to be on the right side of that stressor, you know, because you want that hormesis, but not too much that it pushes you over into just stress for the rest of the day.
And I think that is where many people are going wrong with it. They're pushing, they may be competing with their friends. And again, probably more males than females do that. They're competing. Oh, you can do 4 minutes. I'm going to do 4.5 minutes. And then it becomes, then you do put your body under an unnecessary stress because you're not being intuitive.
Yeah. And do you do the sauna first and then the ice bath?
No.
We don't have a sauna here at home. We have the gym we go to, we have a sauna. There's a sauna and a cold plunge there, which sits around 10. So we do contrast therapy, we do that. And I would always start with the sauna and finish do a couple of rounds and finish on the cold.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you feel the cold throughout the day. So we'll do her in the morning typically. Yeah. And if we're not saunaing that day, you keep getting the cold rush throughout the day. Yeah. Like blood just goes cold.
Yeah.
And then I've had a look at this site. I mean, they're absolutely beautiful bits of kit, aren't they? What sort of prices are they? I know there's like a standard one. There's an XL one, which is probably the one you've got.
So the one we have is the XL one. I'm not sure there's a price on that because it's a commercial unit, but I think the barrels start at a few £1,000s. So they are very expensive. I think people probably would be tempted to go for like, I'll start off with the Lumi or something like that, one of the pop-up plastic ones. But actually the reality with those is they're very hard to get down to a cold temperature, particularly like in the spring and summer. And there's a cleaning element to it. It becomes a really, it just becomes a massive thing to have to deal with. Whereas the Brass Monkey, it's self-cleaning, it's double filtration, and this UV filter as well. Wow. So you just change the filter like once a month, and it's just a case of unscrewing it and putting a new filter in. So I think it makes it more usable. It's definitely way more user friendly.
They are expensive, but I mean, people spend £5,000 on a handbag. It just depends what your priorities are in life. I mean, for me, health and wellness, I would rather spend my money in that field than on.
Well, then also, like if you had a gym membership or something like that, and I suppose the reality is the whole family can use it. Like we've had the kids in as well, and they like it. So it's definitely an investment. But I think if you've tried cold therapy and you like cold therapy, then it's the gold standard. Yeah.
Well, that is an interesting point at the end there, because actually, if you're not totally sure, it probably is worth getting a Lumi first, using that for a few months, even if it's not as cold. Just see if you like it and you use it every day. Because if you don't, it's probably not worth upgrading.
Yeah, or even starting cold showers as well. Like a cold, in here, maybe not in Portugal, but the water's very cold here.
Just to admit, you can build it up. But also, they are popping up now. Lots of plunge places, particularly in London.
In London, there's loads of contrast therapy studios popping up. So it's exciting times.
Just run a cold bath and see if you like it that way, and then step it up.